The 24th with the one and only Angela Hill, who is Senator from District 40. Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Dandy. Weather's nice and ready for spring, as you well know. And I know you guys are ready to get the heck out of Jackson. It just seems like it's been the longest 4 months, even more so than normal.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a long 4 months for everybody.
I do want to ask you. Let's talk about the Medicaid expansion first of all. The committee met yesterday. I watched some of the proceedings. It was open to the public, and it was broadcast, of course, on the internet. And it just got into the minutia where you kind of dozed off after a while. But anything out of that you know, was anything solved or any coming together?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't listen to it. I had a horse that laid down yesterday, so I had to go home, but fortunately he's okay. But on Medicaid expansion, I think if you just go out and poll people in the community, Medicaid expansion is not high on Republican voters' list, yet we're taking up all the oxygen in the room about Medicaid expansion. And I don't know that if there's still an impasse, or if, the House and Senate are compromising, I don't know. But, I think that there's been a lot of misinformation put out about Medicaid expansion. I think the benefit to the hospitals is not what has been put out there. I think if you expand Medicaid, especially to the House plan, you're going to kick a bunch of people off the exchange, maybe 200,000 people that have fully subsidized plans on the exchange onto Medicaid. And I think that's just never a good idea, because many times those people are working. And, if you offer Medicaid to people that are working, a lot of times they're not going to continue to work. And you know that Biden administration is not going to approve any kind of work waivers. It's on HHS's website. They say it's counterproductive to Medicaid to require a work waiver. So, I think that's the sticking point, is making sure that people work. And so, I think that's where the impasse is, too.
I said it a long time ago, if it's a good idea, let's do it. If it's not a good idea, then let's find out how we can make it a good idea, and if we can't, don't do it. It's really that simple, but boy, it's not simple in finding the answer to that, one way or the other. The insurance commissioner was on with me earlier, Mike Cheney, and he has a problem with that possibility, as you said, a lot of people getting off of their plans now that they have, and getting on the free plan, and what's that going to do to the market? Those are the things that have to be figured out before we do it.
Well, I agree, and I have to go back to the point that when I talk to people out in the community, they're concerned about how high their groceries are. They're concerned about how high gasoline is, and I don't hear them saying, "I want to pay off somebody else's student loan for somebody else's health care." That's just not something that you hear out there in the public, especially with Republican voters. And so, that's what I have to go back to is what are my voters most concerned about? And Medicaid expansion is not at the top of their list. Yeah. They're concerned about boys in women's bathrooms, and they're concerned about buying groceries. And they're also concerned about whether or not a hospital is going to tell them that they can't see their own child's medical records without their child's consent. Those are the things that I hear out there from my voters and from Republican women groups across the state. I even hear it from people in the healthcare field. I hear this from people. I might not hear it from a CEO of a hospital, but I hear it from your rank and file people that work in healthcare too.
Are any of your bills still alive as far as the Constitution Committee, or any of your bills that you've authored?
I had one bill signed by the governor, an education bill that allows sign language to be counted as a foreign language credit. Now, that's not, an earth-shattering bill, but I think it's something that's practical that kids may actually retain more than they would retain 1 year of foreign language. That bill's been signed by the governor, but most of my bills that I've filed for years that, coincide with the Fairness Act that I got passed with the help of the legislature a few years ago. We've got a SAFER Act bill that's very, very important in light of what the Biden administration has done with Title IX, basically saying that if you declare that you're a woman, no matter what kind of biological parts you have, coming out of your body, that you're going to be able to go in women's restrooms, locker rooms, dormitories.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to get the SAFER Act passed. I think Republicans need to look at what is important to their voters, and I think we need to come together and pass common sense legislation. There's nothing at all controversial about saying that I don't want a biological male in the bathroom with my daughter or my granddaughter, whether it's in a schoolroom, a college, a prison, no matter where it is. And I think that, people used to say, oh, Angela, you're looking for you've got a solution in search of a problem. And that's what I used to hear for the last 3 years when I've been filing these bills. And, fortunately, we've got some other people that have picked up these bills and have filed them under their name, and that's perfectly fine. I think, sometimes you take one for the team and just get it passed, no matter whose name it's under, because what's important is to take care of the people out here in the state of Mississippi and fight back against the craziness that the wokeness and the craziness that has infiltrated our medical institutions, our universities and colleges. Yep. And, I want to hear my education leaders say, schools in Mississippi, you're not going to follow the Title IX. Louisiana superintendent has already come out and put a statement out there and told the Louisiana schools, do not prepare to follow Biden's Title IX. And I want to hear that out of Mississippi's leaders. Where are our superintendents? Where are our school board? I haven't heard anything. Okay, are you going to tell your schools to not prepare to follow Biden's Title IX?
Yeah.
I know
let me ask you this.
Our Attorney General working against Biden's Title IX.
Where are we? Why do we have any bills at all that were even authored or dropped on teaching DEI in the state, certainly at IHL level? Because that was kind of a story that just didn't go anywhere this year, as far as I know.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Teaching DEI.
Oh, DEI? Of course. Well, we had a bill on the House side. Becky Curry had one, and I had one on the Senate side. And, they never saw the light of day out of committee. And that is another thing that our constituents are extremely concerned with, mm-hmm. is the DEI that's infiltrated our institutions. I think when you see that somebody's color of their skin or their ethnicity or their economic level becomes, as important as somebody's academic merit in deciding what program they get into, especially a medical program, we got serious problems. And we've got to look and stop that. I mean, we can't just, I've learned you can't just tell an institution not to do it. You have to show them that there's some consequences out there, or they're going to continue to do it, just like withholding medical records from parents. I mean, the parents have to pay the bill, but yet if the kid's 14 years old, and it was 12 until we made some noise and they raised it to 14 now at our flagship medical institution, people say, are you crazy telling me that I have to ask my 14-year-old to give me permission to see your medical records and I have to pay the bill? But that's where we are right now.
Yeah. Well, we had some surrounding states that have taken action on this as far as DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, of course, at some of the university level. But apparently, and you said didn't even make it out of committee? Either one of those bills?
No, neither one. Representative Curry's bill didn't make it out of committee. My bill didn't make it out of committee. But you've seen Ron DeSantis taking action down there in Florida.
Yes.
You've seen some action taken over in Texas. Look, when I saw, the university over there at Austin taking some action over there, I'm thinking, well, this ought to be a slam dunk in Mississippi. But unfortunately, things like this are hard to get passed at the state level in the Capitol because people feel like, and they shouldn't, in my opinion, this is not a controversial issue. It's just like boys and girls' bathrooms. There's nothing controversial about keeping boys out of girls' bathrooms.
Those two things.
There's nothing controversial about saying that your own individual merit is what gets you in a program, not your skin color or your bank account.
There you go. those two things are kind of tied together. We'll talk more about this. And you know what state DEI is just number one in, or what university? Columbia University. You want to take a look at what's going on at Columbia University?
Exactly.
So there you are. Yeah, well, hang on. Don't just save it, because we've got a quick break here. Back in a moment with more. And yeah, look, we got limited time here. I got to get back to Senator Hill. District 40, she is chair of the Senate Constitution Committee. Angela, I wanted to ask you about 2799. You voted, I think, present on that bill. I can't believe it's still alive. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it looks like it's a bill that I call it a Trojan horse to change the form of government in the state, where every 4 years you got new agency heads, you've got a new board. If people are thinking about joining state government for their career, understanding politics is going to really be permeated. Would they do that? And if they decide not to, what happens to more pressure on PERS? But just in a capsulated manner, any thought on that bill 2799?
Well, I voted present because, for one thing, it was extremely complicated. I asked a lot of questions on it, but I still couldn't get a clear understanding of it, and I thought that there may be some unconstitutionality in some of the language. So, I don't know where it's going. It may die in committee. But yeah, that's a really complicated bill, and I think that
yes, it is.
They said the goal of it was to make people who have been in PERS and decide to get out of PERS to have to pay back into PERS, a certain amount for those employees. And I was trying to look at the constitutionality of, if you paid in X number of years and you're up to date, I don't know how you can make somebody pay more if they're up to date for the time that they've had those employees. I don't know how constitutional it is to tell somebody how they're going to run their business and what form of business that they're going to run, and that was some of the concerns that I had with it.
See, that's kind of a backdoor thing, because Thomas in Greenwood also told us 2799 will be what they use to try to reconfigure PERS board. And I alluded to this, that when you look at it, I've never seen more code section changes in any bill in a while. And it's got a lot of code section changes, so no wonder it's complicated. And in that confusion, sometimes bad things happen. But let me, real quick, before we get through, as a former teacher, your thoughts on MAEP versus Inspire, and who has Dennis DeBar's ear as far as his desire to keep on to MAEP?
I think the lieutenant governor is the one that has Chairman DeBar's ear, and I have briefly spoken with Chairman DeBar about, these formulas and which one they're going to take up. But I tell you what my concern is right now with public education. I want to hear from the State Board of Education. I want to hear from Lance Evans before I commit to putting $250 million more into education as to whether or not they're going to comply with Biden's bathroom order to put boys and girls bathrooms, because I'm not going to do anything that facilitates what Biden's wanting to do as far as his Title IX. I think we need to hear from our educational leaders that we're going to wait till we get an injunction, or, we're not going to just go ahead and pile in like Kerry Wright did when Obama gave the bathroom order, back a few years ago. And another thing I'm concerned about is this weighted formula for English as a second language, because, the federal government got this open border, and they say, well, you've got to put these kids in school, and our taxpayers that pay ad valorem taxes are having to support these schools. And then, we've got the MAEP portion, which is about $7,000. And if you look, I had Peter do a study. If you look at how many English as a second language learners there are in the state of Mississippi, there's thousands. Okay, there's as many as 4,000 or 5,000 just in one geographical region of the state. Mm-hmm. So, we're one of those formulas begins to put more state money and put a weighted formula in there for English as a second language. So my thing is, whether we got to educate them or not, I don't think the taxpayers in Mississippi ought to contribute to Biden's open borders and put more and more money into English as a second language. I mean, I just don't. I think at some point we have to say, the states have got to do what Texas has done, because Every state's a border state, and we're having more and more and more. I can tell you, I just did some simple math, and just on the MAEP portion of English as a second language, it's about $210 million that we're paying right now for these students that are here. And the schools can't tell us whether they're here legally or illegally, but we know if they don't know English, they haven't been here most of their life. I'm just going by that. So, and I'm also concerned about extra weight for special needs kids, because, whatever that formula is, there's certain schools that are going to figure out how to scam that system, and I don't want them overdiagnosing kids as special needs to get more of that money. I'm concerned about all these weighted measures and some of these formulas. I think a flat rate for kids across the board would be a good thing, and then adjust for transportation costs. I mean, that's basically the fair way to do it, is give a flat rate across the board so that they can't, fudge on any of these numbers to get more money, and then say, look, if your geographical area is this big, you get X more money for transportation.
Makes sense.
That's a fair way to do it.
All right, look, it's always good to have you on. We always need an hour with you, because just a short 30 minutes is not good enough. Look, I thank you so very, very much, and look forward to getting you back in studio.
Come back on.
All right. Thank you, Angela.